Welcome, everyone, to episode 137 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Pentellaresco. I write stuff in podcast too. Today, my guest is Halli Lilburn. Halli is talking about women in art, women in fiction. She did a really cool presentation on it. We just had a really fun little conversation about writing, lifestyle choices, things of that nature. Halli, I've met a few times, but this was our first serious conversation, and I was really impressed by it. She's very passionate with what she does, and I personally can't wait until I see her doing a full novel, and kind of see what she can really do with a bigger canvas. But check out her work, man. She's in quite a few short story collections. She's in Tesseract. She's in a few other things. You should definitely take the moment to really give her a look. This is our conversation. I hope you enjoy it.
Nervous? No, it's just because I thought my kids would be in school by now, but actually they didn't start till noon, so they're all still here. So I'm hoping that they, don't fight or
burn the house down. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. By the way, I've turned the recorder on, so in the event of a fire, we'll stop. So I'll probably just watch you panic. Oh, don't touch that! And then you'll be off, and then I'll be like, okay, the interview's over, and I totally understand. Yeah. By the way, I should warn you, this is about as serious as I normally am on a podcast. So yeah. Yeah, as long as you're good. Now I'm just finishing up here. So, I am with the one and only. I want to make sure I got your name right. Halli? 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 Yeah, okay. That's good, because I'm going to warn you up front. I've been doing this lately when I introduce podcasts. I usually get the name wrong. I'm not sure why. It just seems to be just my thing. But anyway, let's see, what do we want to talk about first? Actually, I want to talk about this. First off, congratulations on being... Is this your first editing gig who was coming up with Coffin Off?
Yeah.
Yep. Nervous?
Yes, very. Because if there's any spelling or grammar or anything that I miss, it's totally my fault.
Yes. Yes, it is. It's okay. I'm sorry that doesn't actually build you up. No. But it's cool though. I mean, you're working with good people. I mean, Axel and Robert are they're very good, and they'd help you. Both of them would help you in a sec.
And there's two more editors besides and Kat, so that will also be helpful.
So yeah, between the three of you, it's all good. But don't feel bad if mistakes do get through. I've said this on the podcast before, but I remember when I was working for James Owen. He had this magazine called Copper Barrel Literary Magazine. So you get to the front of the cover. Everybody missed this. It was Copper Barrel Literary Magazine.
Oh no.
Yeah, and everybody missed it. I mean, everybody. So it was like the proofers missed it. The proofers missed it. They missed it. It was right in front of their face, and then finally they look. It's like, great, koogly moogly. This is not what we wanted. This is the impression they made. A first opening issue. So I mean, and I've made mistakes too. We all do. I look at it's like that shouldn't be spelt like that.
Yeah.
Oops. So what inspired this what you're editing? What is it called? What are you doing?
Okay, it's called The Dame Was Trouble, and it is a crime fiction from female Canadian authors. So it's basically setting up for the Year of Publishing Women, which is 2018. And Axel was so great in saying that he was going to support this and that it was important for him to have equal representation, and ours isn't the only thing that he's doing for female writers next year, but it was an idea that I could do, that I could help to promote female writers.
Fair enough. Sue. So crime. Is there a particular theme here? Like, what's the theme?
Mostly noir.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying to keep it dark.
Keep it dark and nihilistic. Is the world gonna end? No.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Might. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. So, is this your first major editing gig, or is this
This is it. And the reason that I decided to do it was because I didn't think anybody else was going to, and I knew that a project like this had to happen. So.
fair enough? So, why did you think a project like this had to happen?
Because of the underrepresentation of women writers. And it's just, you know, there are a lot of women who write, and it's basically, half women, half men. But the issue is when they get recognized, when publishers agree to pick up their work, when they get awards, when they get reviews even, seems just to be less. In a margin about 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, in the whole scheme of everything, but because this is my career, this is where my focus is, I'm just trying to help out a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah. See, like I said, for me, like we were talking about this offline, it's interesting for me because my whole career so far, I primarily worked with women. Right. My publisher is Justine Dowsett. She's been like working with me on my poetry stuff. My cover, like my illustrator, my editors, even prospective agents, like almost everybody I've worked with so far in this industry. Yeah, even my first essay for Ben Bella, that was working. That one had a little bit more of an intermediary of a male, but I still primarily working with women the whole way through, and that's just how my career has worked out.
And I'm not saying that there aren't women in the industry. There are lots of women in the industry.
Yeah.
It's the issue of being able to be recognized on equal par with awards and reviews and recognition, which doesn't happen as much.
No, I think the big one's the money.
Yeah.
That I mean let's cut right to the chase. I'm of the mindset that when you do something, doesn't matter who you are, if you do a job and you do it well, you should be paid accordingly to that work. Now, on a personal note, I do think writers in general are a little underpaid in the industry, by and large. It's not just women but men, but I do know that if you look at the average wages with men to women, I feel like, again, I can only go based on my own experience. I feel like there's like in terms of compared to some other arts I've seen, it's not as bad in writing, but it's still like the parity isn't quite where it should be. And whereas I was telling you yesterday, like I'm literally interviewing an acting troupe later this month sometime, and they're an all-female group primarily because they're a bunch of talented female actresses auditioning for like one or two roles, and they just said fuck that. so so that's, I mean,
throughout history, men played women, so why can't women play men?
oh, absolutely. Or they've even done like the thing I think that made me interested. They've just done like women, like plays specifically written for women too, which is an interesting thing. If I actually had something that resembled Money the last little bit, I probably would have gone to their last show because that's an interesting idea. But no, it's like I said, I have a sister. She's really, really talented in the arts herself. Like probably more than me, and I'm being a little bit underselling myself. But she's amazing, and I look at it kind of like, well, if I can do something. If I can do something to help out, I help out because I want her to have the same opportunities, because I think she's awesome. That's just me being a brother more than anything else. So.
I do the same thing for my daughter, so
yeah.
I really want them to be able to get into the careers that they want, and I'll do what I can
well,
to support that.
is that the big reason you're doing this, or is it just been like also been about your own struggles with getting published and things of that nature?
Not just mine, just every woman that I know that talks about it. And like my one daughter wants to go into animation, and I really hope that she's not judged or not included because she's a girl, because that would really reflect poorly on society, and she shouldn't have to be.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. With with oh, especially today. I mean, it's all about just teaching people the skills required, and if they want to do something. I mean, we have more tools today than we've ever had before. I just literally proved someone just built a video game literally as a hobby, right? All right. So, and again, like back in my day, and I mean, I sound that makes me sound like a horribly old man, but back in my day, there were tools, but not to the degree that there were today. They're becoming more and more available. They're more and more interactive, and just we live in an age where if anyone wants to learn something, they can, right? That
Yeah.
that might
And
be.
I think that goes with self-publishing in our industry too. I mean, that
Uh,
didn't exist when I was younger, and I mean, there's pros and cons to that too, but just the fact that you have the ability to put out whatever you write.
Yeah, I've been kind of playing with the so after the poetry release, I'm releasing my first book, like quote unquote self published novel, and I'm playing with it. I'm going to try a slightly different approach because the big thing about an independent book, is certain steps are taken to make the books clearly identified as indie books, right? Like book sizes, things of that nature are there just to separate them from the mass market paperbacks you normally see in a bookstore. And I'm actually deciding to embrace the differences. So I'm like, you know what? Okay, you want me to be different? Okay, I'll be different, and then I'll be better than you. I mean, that's the plan with what I'm doing is I'm going to be I'm looking at it kind of like what can I do? What can I accomplish with this? And don't get me wrong, I'm still going to try to write for a traditional market as well. I have something specifically for that I'm going to be working on this fall winter, but it's like there's at this point I think every author creator should be doing things independent at this point. The tools are there, and there's no reason not to learn. Yeah, and I think everybody needs to learn today.
I self-published my first poetry book, and the reason that I did it was because I was doing presentations and panels at conferences about poetry, and I had nothing to show or to give the audience. So I put together Ballad of the Sea Lion Woman so that I could say, if you're interested, here's some stuff that you can look at that I've done. And it was basically to give myself credibility, but also to give material that wasn't getting published traditionally, and yeah, it worked.
Fair enough. So what do you consider? So you're an editor, you're a poet. You got novels too, or you
I
got?
Yeah, I've got one novel, and then I got a bunch of short stories. So the novel that I did is like a science fiction young adult, and it was a small publisher, and they've since returned the rights to me. So it's up in the air, I guess.
Uh,
But I've got a story in the Tesseracts 18,
yes.
straight through Edge, science fiction fantasy publishing, and then some ghost stories, some horror, yeah,
So
wherever I can fit it in.
where you can fit it in. You got enough for a collection yourself at this point, or
Short stories?
yeah.
Yeah, I do, and I'm debating whether I'm gonna find a publisher to do it or do it myself, but we'll see.
You'll see. You're not. So besides Coffin Hop, then, so what are your writing goals then for the next year or so?
right now I'm working on a steampunk novel that I'm excited about because my daughter, who's in animation, her name is Eartha. She has her own characters that she's done, and one of them fit into my story. So I'm using her character in my story, and it makes it interesting for the two of us to kind of write together. And changes the plot a little bit because her character won't do certain things, and so I have to work around it. And it's a great experiment, and I love it. So I'm hoping that one will.
So as in co-written, how old is your daughter? Sorry if you don't mind my asking. Sorry, 14?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. So one thing about younger people in general is they're a lot braver than we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. They are a lot braver than we are. They will go out there and they will put their idea to page, and it's bolder. Like it's a lot bolder than what I can do today. I can be bold, but not like I have a little bit of fear. Life has beaten some fear into me. Hasn't done that to.
Yeah. I constantly have to say, well, I don't think that will work because it doesn't follow my readership, or I don't think a publisher will be interested in doing that. And I feel bad because I'm kind of shutting her down a little bit. And then I have to stop myself and say, okay, it's okay if there's dragons. It's okay if there's, something a little bit more fantastic like, because that's what she wants, and she's the audience as well as helping me out. So.
Well, yeah, and also, I mean, who's to say? Like if one thing about like the video game market today, and I know this is, if she's working on like video like a phone app kind of deal, yeah. she could release a phone app and sell the game for $1. And that's a really interesting like niche market for video games, and it's also a good way to build, like for your daughter, that'd be a good way to build her resume up. It's like there's nothing more impressive than like saying, hey, I've done a video game. Like, you want to get into video games? No, I am in video games. See, there's my dollar going here, my dollar one there, my dollar one. Something I realized like when I was getting started, and I said I was a writer. And even to this day, I get this initially is like, oh, you're a writer, and there's like quotation marks there. Then they see a couple books, and then they're like, oh my God, you're a writer. I'm like, yeah, it's like what I said, right? And they're like, you actually do this? It's like, yes, I do. Same thing with people that do like any kind of like art and video games. I do consider it's a very interesting amalgamation between engineering and art is what a video game is. And if she wants to, I mean, that's something that's a market to look at, because it's something for one of my novels down the road. I want to do one of those really classically cheesy 8-bit games like Elevator Action, and do an equivalent of that for one of my stories, just as like a crossover appeal. Even if it's only like a couple levels, the ultra cheesy game. Like Kung Fu, like I love I love that old style game where you just punch, the enemy just drops and falls away, and you take one hit and you die. I mean, those old, but like again, this is my fantasy at this point, and but I like the idea of doing stuff like that on the $1 platform or $2 platform, and for what you guys are doing, depending on what you guys have for software and things of that nature. You could like do a book and a video game at like the same time, and it'd be kind of a neat little thing, because the other thing about today is mediums are no longer so separate. Why can't your book be a video game? Why can't her video game be a book?
And I think that the book shift would make a perfect video game, because it's basically getting chased through different dimensions, and I've looked into a few ways of turning that into a video game for sure.
Yeah, no, it just sounds.
For a graphic novel, that's the other option too, because a lot of the stuff that I do is very plot based, and so it's very visual, and it lends itself to graphic novels. I'm just not a very good drawer.
It's okay.
I have to get better at that.
Oh, so I have a graphic novel coming out in the spring. So the concept is called the stick figure revolution. So the story is I draw stick figures so bad they revolt, and that's literally what the story is about, right? So I have these stick figures, and they're like, why did you draw me this terribly compared to the rest of the world? Because the rest of the world's just this immaculate, beautiful, psychedelic place, and it's like, why are we like this? Why are we made in like a factory? And being the lazy creator I am, I say something stupid, and they go, "No, we will revolt." So yeah, so the creator of the story has to enlist the help of the very pretty animals. And yes, I use the word pretty a lot in this story, which maybe says something about my maturity level at this point in my life. I don't know. She's smart.
I've got these monsters that are kind of complicated, and I want them drawn a specific way, but every time I go and try and do it, they just don't quite look the way I imagine them to. So
I think
keep drawing and drawing until I figure out.
Well, I thought for you. I mean, maybe there's a specific there's a specific reason this is your master plot, and I'm not going to get in the way of your master plot. But there is something to be said about. I've talked to many artists. What they visualize in their head and what goes onto the page never quite works out.
Yeah.
Right? Never quite does. That's not.
And I've hired artists before, and they've made it look really awesome, but I just can't afford it.
Yeah.
Right now, unfortunately.
No, I got you.
This is my daughter.
Hi. So up the road, your daughter will be plotting video games and other animation and endeavors, and I'll say I knew.
Illustrating my graphic novel for me.
Yeah, probably. I'll say I knew her when.
Hi.
Yeah. I knew her when, and then I'll be like, can she buy me lunch because she's famous now? I'm really easygoing, guys. Like, it's awesome. You're famous. Can you afford lunch? No. I look at this like I wish her nothing but success. In all seriousness, I do wish her nothing but the best, and you as well for this. I hope the collaboration. Actually, that's a good question. What has your collaboration with your daughter has taught you besides the fact that she's braver than you, at least when it comes to the art?
It's gotten me out of my own head because she's created a character that I might not have thought of.
Yep.
So I kind of like that because I don't want all my characters to be the same. And a lot of the times, we emulate ourselves or we want our hero to be like us. So in a way, it's a nice, I wouldn't say diversion, but it's another path to go down. And I find that collaborative writing, I mean, it works for TV really well. There's always a team of writers that come up with ideas, so why can't there be a team of writers for books? And I know, a few times where there's partnerships for books, and I'm glad that I'm testing it out because it's really well.
Yeah, when you collaborate with somebody, like I collaborated with Florence Chan for my poetry book. She did the art because she's awesome, and like I said, my stick figures have this thing to revolt. So I didn't need that kind of revolution with this. But one thing I learned when I do collaborations is I learned two things. One, get out of the way, because that's a good one. They're better at what you want them to do than you are. So, and you got in your head, you recognize that, and you just stay out of their way. Just, what do you want? This, and then it's like, okay, you got it, cool. I'm gonna go fishing over here, and when you're ready to bring me back in, just let me know. One, and then two. The other thing I learned is even if they're not specifically involved with what you're doing, they force you to reevaluate what you're doing in a good way. Because what tends to happen there is their perspective. Like everybody's got ideas, and an important thing you always recognize is if you're smart, you recognize that, and that your ideas aren't necessarily always the best ones. That doesn't mean to say that your stuff's terrible, but it just means that their approach might show you something that you didn't consider before. And if you're really smart, you utilize that to the best of your abilities. Florence made me reevaluate the world I had in my head a little bit, just in terms of, okay, realistically it can't be like this because it doesn't magically work like this. And I'm like, damn you and your logical ways. Now I have to rethink this. And that's the best part about collaboration. Right? And especially when you have two people on the same kind of vision, it's a lot of fun. You're not alone in your head anymore, as you pointed out, and you also get to goof off. I mean, in a really fun way. So,
I
yeah.
think it's also good for your characters to be surprised, because having a plot twist that you come up with is great, but if somebody else comes up with the plot twist, then as the writer, you are also as surprised as your characters, and that's kind of fun.
Well, interesting because like some people have some interesting solutions to the plot twist idea. Like, I think one of my favorite is one of my buddies when he was doing plot twists for his characters, he'd do a D&D campaign. And things that would happen in the D&D campaign, like one of his characters got this leg wound. It worked for the story. But he was like, I didn't plan this leg wound. This kind of came out of nowhere. Cool, right? And that kind of stuff.
I am actually doing a D&D campaign right now, and I've noticed similarities to the point where I've mixed up my D&D character with my novel character at times, and I have to go back and fix it.
Nice. So are you a character or are you a GM?
No, I'm a character.
Yeah. Have you ever GM'd?
No, I haven't. And maybe I'd be good at it if I did studying beforehand, but...
Okay, so I've done the GM thing for Shadowrun.
Yeah.
My group was a bunch of chaotic neutral people. So
Yeah.
planning for them, there can be plans. Sometimes they fall through just for a number of reasons. I find with role playing, it's very much an exercise in being collaborative, right? You set the table when you're the game master. You set the table basically. What you do is you set the table and you let them go the way they're gonna go. My personal favorite, although I didn't plan it this way. So I had this idea of introducing the Fae in Shadowrun. So if you're gonna introduce the Fae, you have to have Puck in there somewhere. Now I had this. All my plan for Puck was, I'd introduce Puck, and then I'd have him cause mischief for an episode, try out a couple mechanical things, and then have him leave the stage. They talked themselves into working for him. They did. I did not plan this. I went with it. I'm like, are they actually talking themselves into working for him? I was either better than I thought, or they just, it was just one of those things. They talked themselves. I did nothing, like literally nothing. Now that was the
to my GM when he didn't really realize that something was gonna bother me so badly that I was gonna make it into a mission.
Yes.
He was kind of like, that's not what I thought would happen, but
okay.
No, my character would not allow that to just sweep under the rug, so we're gonna fix it.
Yeah, it's another form of collaboration. You can, as a GM, you can set a table a certain way, and sometimes, well, one where I came up with this idea of a split personality villain. I thought I'm brilliant, no one will see this coming. And then I rolled a dice when she goes to attack, and it's such a blunder that she basically beats herself. And I'm like, well, that done. And that's the way it goes, right? You right, and that's the nature of like collaboration. It's a combination of surprise, a bit of wonder, and unexpected. And I again, just gaming. Like, I think gaming like that, like Dungeons and Dragons, Shadowrun, like whatever game you play, it is actually a good practice, and it's a good practice between collaboration and improv, because
Yeah.
it's
Sure.
yeah, that's the big issue there.
And I
Um,
think that when you're talking about collaboration, I mean, every author collaborates with every reader because the reader's going to interpret your writing differently, especially with poetry. I've had interpretations of poetry that I didn't think of, but took credit for anyways after a reviewer came up with this amazing, interpretation of a poem. But I think that you can't write in isolation, and a lot of people say writing is an isolated career, but when you are with other people, they're going to change what you've said. They're going to, take it to another level that you might not have, and that's what you're always doing, is collaborating with people.
yeah, again, it's the old it's thermodynamics in action. The act of observing the atom changes the atom, and it's true. I have this story, and I think it's brilliant here, and then they go look at you and they go, no, no, that's not so brilliant. You think you were clever, but you weren't.
So I was kind of hoping it would be the positive side of that,
Well, no,
it's not that great. But then someone says, "No, this is genius," and
yeah.
then
Well, yeah, or as I was or this part over here that you put is just this is amazing. Like what you hope for, and sometimes what you get are not necessarily the same things, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know what I mean? So it's sometimes it can be an amazingly, yeah, it could just be a really fun, interesting, intricate experience, which is ultimately what we're going for.
yeah,
Yeah. So your poetry is called Sea Lion. Oh, sorry,
Ballad of the Sea Lion Woman.
The Ballad of the Sea Lion Woman. All right, and published by yourself.
Yeah.
You gonna do more poetry? Are you more comfortable with novels and short stories?
I'll do all of them. I feel like focusing in one specific genre might make you an expert in that genre, but I can't do it. And maybe it's because my focus isn't so narrow, but I can't. Yeah, I want to do little bits of everything. Always been, so variety is my middle name.
Fair enough. So does that mean, like, again, you were talking about graphic novels earlier? You were talking about, so you want to do all those things?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So so I'm gonna since we've gone quite a decent amount of time here, I'm gonna end a couple more questions here. One, what are your goals at this point? Like, personally as a writer, like what are your aspirations? What are you trying to achieve? Have you achieved it?
I would love to be able to create full time. I'm an artist. I also teach creative writing classes, and I want to be able to. I would love to not be able, or I would love to not need another job. That's what I would love. But it's a lifestyle choice, not necessarily a career choice. So as long as in my life I am considered a writer and an artist, then I've achieved my goal.
Fair enough. I think we have a wonderful interview here. So if people want to find you, how would they do so?
I have a blog at hallililburn.blogspot.com. Is probably the best place. I'm on Facebook too, under Halli Lilburn, and when words collide, I'm always there.
You are always there. Alrighty. Give me a second here. And that will do it for this episode of Just Joshing. If you want to support the podcast, you can. You can do this a number of different ways. You can subscribe to the podcast either through iTunes or through Podomatic. If you do so, please leave a review. Tell me what you liked about the show, what you hate about the show. Just don't hate too loud, okay, guys? Because I'm sensitive and stuff. Actually, it really doesn't matter to me. Just leave a comment. Let me know what's going on. If you like what you're hearing, that'd be great. Beyond that, you could also buy my books. At this point, The Watcher, Storm Dancer, and The Wandering God are done. The series is complete. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them at mirrorworldpublishing.com. You can get them anywhere books are sold electronically. You can also ask your local chapters, Barnes & Noble or Amazon, to get them in stock. I would love if you did. If you hate the book, just don't tell anybody, okay? Okay. Beyond that, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is Joshua Pantelleresco. Currently, past archived episodes of the podcast are there. More and more episodes are going there as we speak. Definitely should check that out and do what needs to be done. Above all else, though, whether you support me or you don't, thank you for listening. You should stay inspired. Do what you feel called to do. Don't be afraid to make the sacrifices required to find the success you're looking for. Because the real secret is, what are you willing to give up to go forward? That, more than anything else, I think determines how far you go. All right, guys, you take care of yourselves. All right, see you next time.
Josh.